Okay, so election observers. Huh. I always kind of figured, they just like observed elections. But this stuff from RoleCatcher, wow. It's a whole different ball game than I expected.
Right. Way more to it than just, watching people at the ballot box. It seems like RoleCatcher is really pushing this as a career path.
Yeah, for sure. And right away, I noticed they had those alternative titles. Legislative drafter, human rights officer. Those are pretty serious gigs, right?
It definitely suggests that this is about the big picture, not just election day, but the entire system that leads up to it. Like their whole job is making sure everything is fair and square no matter what.
Gotcha, gotcha. So we're talking international elections, right? High stakes stuff. What's the official word from RoleCatcher on what these observers actually do all day?
Well, their definition is pretty clear cut. They're there to make sure the election is, well, credible and transparent, watching every single step from the actual voting to the counting afterwards.
Yeah.
And if they see anything even remotely shady, they call it out.
So they're like the referees for democracy.
Yeah, I guess you could say that, but with a lot more paperwork.
Huh. Probably.
And speaking of, you know how they mentioned skilled and trained spectator?
Yeah, I thought that was a little, redundant.
Well, not really. See, these guys go through some serious training. Electoral law, how to spot irregularities, the whole 9 yards, and most importantly, how to stay totally neutral, no matter what their own political leanings might be.
Oh, right. You wouldn't want someone biased making those kinds of calls.
Right.
That makes sense. But what about the work environment section? RoleCatcher was pretty vague on that.
Well, think about it. One day you could be in some capital city, the next year out in a rural village, each with its own, political climate. Things can get unpredictable, fast.
And then you've got that pros and cons list. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
travel, making a difference, sounds kind of amazing, right?
There.
But then you get to the cons and it's like, whoa, this could be really stressful, even dangerous.
Yeah. This isn't just some desk job,
Yeah.
Serious business. You're talking about the foundations of democracy here.
No pressure, right?
Hmm.
But even with all that going on, the interview prep section really focused on the human side of things. What stuck out to you in those questions?
The ones about dealing with conflict, making sure everyone's safe. It's obvious that this isn't just about, like, checking boxes. You gotta have some serious people skills to do this job, especially under pressure.
It's like you're almost a diplomat in a way, but they can't just throw you to the wolves, right?
Yeah.
You've got to get some kind of training first.
Oh, absolutely. RoleCatcher actually lays it out pretty clearly. You've got your assistants, then you move up to junior observer, and then eventually senior observer. So, you work your way up the ladder.
Right.
Start by shadowing the more experienced folks, and then gradually take on more responsibility as you go.
Yeah, and the thing that really struck me was how they had those like sample profiles for each level,
Yeah.
You've got Sarah, the gung-ho assistant with her political science degree.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's David, the seasoned senior observer with his PhD. It's almost like too perfect.
It does feel a little formulaic, doesn't it? Almost like they use some kind of algorithm to generate those profiles, each one tailored to a specific career stage.
All right.
And knowing RoleCatcher and their love of AI, I wouldn't be surprised if that's exactly what they did.
Speaking of AI, that industry trends section, wow. I mean, I knew technology was everywhere, but I didn't realize even election observing was getting in on the action.
Yeah.
Mobile apps, social media monitoring. It's a whole new world out there.
Well, it makes sense when you think about it. Everything's digital these days. Why not elections, too? Plus, those tools can really help observers do their jobs more effectively. Collect and analyze data faster, get information out to more people. They can even spot potential manipulation as it's happening.
Okay, yeah, I get that. But social media, isn't that like a recipe for disaster?
How so?
Well, I mean, it's notorious for spreading misinformation, especially during elections.
That's a fair point. But here's the thing. Social media can also be a really valuable tool for citizen reporting. Observers can use it to get real-time updates from the ground, directly from voters. It helps them verify information, see what's actually going on. They might even catch attempts at voter suppression as they're happening.
Huh. I hadn't thought about it like that.
Yeah.
It's like, what, crowdsourcing election integrity?
Exactly. It's about using every tool at your disposal. And these days, that includes social media. Of course, it's not perfect, and you have to be careful about the information you're getting, but it's definitely a powerful tool when used correctly.
Yeah, for sure. Although I'm sure RoleCatcher is already working on some AI-powered solution to weed out all the fake news, right?
Probably.
It seems like they're really pushing their, CV optimization and the interview prep stuff. even those employer matching algorithms.
Right, right. But it does make you think, Even a field as, well, as traditional as election observation, it's not immune to the impact of technology, especially AI. And RoleCatcher, they're smart. They see that. And they're positioning themselves as the go-to platform for anyone trying to navigate this new landscape.
It makes you think. All this AI stuff, where's it all headed, right?
It's a brave new world out there, that's for sure.
But hey, before we go too far down that rabbit hole,
Yeah.
remember those alternative titles we talked about?
Right.
Legislative drafter, human
Yeah.
rights office. I mean, those aren't just like synonyms for election observer. It's like they're hinting at something bigger.
Absolutely. It's not just about the election itself, but the impact it has on everything else. Human rights, legislation, it's all connected.
Exactly. It's like that old saying, no man is an island.
Right.
Well, no election is an island either, I guess.
Yeah.
And speaking of connections, that networking opportunities section, it's like being a people person is practically a job requirement.
Oh, without a doubt. You're constantly interacting with people, local officials, political parties, even the media. Building relationships, fostering dialogue, it's all part of the job.
So you're not just an observer, you're like a facilitator, a bridge builder.
You could say that. It's about upholding those democratic values, and sometimes that means navigating some pretty tricky social and political situations.
Sounds like it takes a special kind of person to handle all that. Someone who's, I don't know, detail-oriented, but also a good communicator.
Definitely. Someone who can stay calm under pressure, too.
Oh, yeah. And not afraid of a little ambiguity.
And maybe most importantly, someone who's truly passionate about democracy, about making a difference. This isn't a job for someone just looking for a paycheck.
No kidding. But for the right person, it sounds incredibly rewarding.
Absolutely.
Well, I think we've done it. We've explored the ins and outs of election observing, from the nitty-gritty details to the big picture impact it has on democracy as a whole.
We've seen how technology is changing the game, both as a powerful tool and a potential challenge.
And we've learned that this isn't just some dry technical field. It takes passion, skill, and a deep commitment to making sure every vote counts.
Well said.
So to all our listeners out there, thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
And remember, a healthy democracy depends on informed and engaged citizens. So stay curious, keep asking questions, and we'll see you on the next deep dive.